the red dot trembled slightly before settling directly between his furrowed brows. He blinked, once, and that smug grin vanished. Her hands, just behind him, were shaking. She assumed I didn't notice, but I always do. They only shake when someone doesn't know which side they're really on. He stood there, posing like he was back in some high school locker room, chest puffed out, veins popping, every inch the stereotype. She half hid behind him, as if his bulk could shield her. Like muscle had ever stopped something fired from 1,000 yards away. Be smart, he said, voice hard. Walk away before I snap your neck. I smiled. 12 years in the field. 9 confirmed eliminations. Another 5 they never found, because I didn't miss, and because the evidence was never recovered. The funny thing about tough guys? They fall just like everyone else. Especially when they were never the intended target. 3 weeks ago. She whispered a name in her sleep. Not mine. Just once, soft like a sigh. I didn't wake her. I lay there, staring up at the ceiling, letting the silence press in like dust settling on old wounds. The next morning, she acted like nothing had happened. Kissed me. Made coffee. Casual chat. Then her phone buzzed. A name I didn't recognize flashed on the screen. Who's that? I asked lightly. She hesitated, only for a second. Coworker, she said too quickly. I smiled and nodded calm. Most think betrayal arrives like a storm, loud and crashing. But it's slower than that. It creeps in quiet, like a fuse burning out of sight. She didn't know the blaze had already begun. I moved through the next days like I used to move through hostile terrain, silent, watching, invisible. Pulled her GPS data. Tracked her stops. She wasn't working late. She was parking outside an apartment complex across town. 2 hours at a time, multiple times, same unit. His name was Cam. I pulled his file through a contact still buried in intelligence work. Full name Cameron Reese. Wannabe bodybuilder. 2 prior assault charges, both dismissed. Not the kind of guy she used to go for. Then again, I wasn't that guy anymore either. Then came the gym bag. A toothbrush that wasn't hers. Bristles were different. Faint traces of cologne I didn't wear. I still didn't say anything. That's what breaks them in the end. Not the confrontation. The silence. The knowing. The envelope arrived at exactly 2:37 p.m. on a Thursday. I didn't have to open it to guess the contents. But I did, carefully, precisely. DNA results. My name. Her name. Cameron Reese. And the prenatal file. She was 6 weeks along. We hadn't touched each other in over 2 months. The last time she flinched. Turned the lights off. She was already gone. That evening, I set the table, her favorite meal, her favorite wine. The house was warm, inviting. When she came in, I handed her the envelope. Watched her eyes scan the pages. Her face folded in on itself. She tried to speak, couldn't. Then the tears came. I didn't move. Didn't speak. Eventually she started begging. Said she was confused. That it was a mistake. That she didn't know what she wanted. It could have been chalked up to a clerical slip. The kind of absurd twist that sits halfway between a typo and a betrayal. But here we were, him, puffed up like some overconfident bruiser with a voice louder than his sense, and her, shrinking behind him, torn between fear and guilt. You don't scare me, he growled, trying to claw back control. You're just some has-been. The red glint of a laser danced across his chest. He shut up instantly. See that? I said, my voice flat and controlled. That's not a threat. That's a guarantee. He tilted his head up, eyes searching the skyline. Somewhere high up, maybe a rooftop, maybe a window across the street. Someone was watching, finger on the trigger. I stepped forward, slow and steady. She didn't tell you, did she? That she's pregnant. With your child. His jaw dropped, the words lost before they could form. She kept that from you so she could keep pretending the baby was mine. The blood drained from her face. I'm not here to fight, I said. I just thought you deserved to know what you're walking into. The laser dot flickered and vanished. I turned to her. Don't call. Don't follow. If I ever see either of you again, it won't be to talk. And I walked away. I didn't look back, not this time. The silence behind me said everything. Some betrayals slice clean. Others leave you bleeding in places no one can see. But I'd figured out how to close wounds without stitches. You stop needing reasons. You stop chasing explanations. You just accept that the person you thought you knew, maybe they never existed at all. As for me, I've always been a weapon. She just reminded me. Weapons don't cry. They don't beg. They don't mourn what they hit. They just aim true. And I never miss.